Okay. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Margaret. Good morning, Patrick. Anne, Margaret, could you pray for us? And Grace, Margaret, anyone of you to pray for us?
Okay, let's summarize a word of prayer.
Okay.
Father, in the name of Jesus, one, thank you for this day. One, thank you for the gift of life. One, thank you that you've made us see it today again. Father, as we start this day, we started with the blood of Jesus and shall end it with the blood of Jesus. Father, be in front of us in everything we are going to do today and guide us through everything. In Jesus' mighty name I prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Grace. I would like to welcome everybody to this session. And this morning, we will start with an entrepreneur who is going to tell us a story of how a place came to be and how that story has framed their business. And then later on in the program, we shall have some youth who will be presenting to us as we look for anyone who is near the farm. Is Anne or Grace or Margaret taking us to the farm this morning? Okay, and I can see Teacher Diana is also connecting. Let's see how we move. So,
my name is Leonard Mutesasira. I am the proprietor of the Great Outdoors, which is in Kalandamu in Luweero district, 35 kilometers north of Kampala. We are a wellness center, but before I get to tell you about the wellness center, I would like to tell you how we got where we began. So when we came here 12 years ago, I wondered, why is this place called Kalandamu? And people that understand Luganda will know that Kalandamu comes from the word kurandama, which means to sit with your legs stretched on the ground, which in Luganda is the position of ultimate relaxation. So we wondered, why was it called such a name? Would we find inspiration in it? And so we were given a lot of explanations, one of which was that this was a hugely troubled place many years ago. There was a legendary story of a snake called Sesota Wekalungu, or the serpent of Kalungu. And you'll hear people sing about it in Luganda folk songs. And so the story goes that this was a troubled place. And there was a serpent that killed men, killed women, killed children, killed everything that moved. And so the king in the 1700s caught wind of this challenge. And he put out a huge reward for whoever would conquer, subdue, or kill the snake. And so people came from wherever they came, from as far as you can imagine. And it subdued them until much further down the road, a certain man called Waswa Chisenyi came along. And Waswa Chisenyi was given the ammunition everybody was given. He was given the spears, the nets, and whatever somebody thought was necessary to subdue the snake. And to everybody's amazement, Waswa Chisenyi said no, he didn't need any of that, that he had a method he was going to use. And so the day of reckoning came. And so he pulled out a flute and he started playing the flute like those Indian stone snake charmers. And the snake somehow came out of the bush. And the story goes, he started speaking to it. And he told the snake that he had a message from the king. And that the king recognized the snake as a king as well. And so the message was, the king wanted to speak to the snake. Only those things kings speak to fellow kings. And to everybody's surprise, so the story goes, the snake agreed. And so his mode of transportation was a big, massive pot The pot is called a togero in Luganda. In Luganda, there are several types of clay pots. One is called ensumbi, ensua, and the togero, the big one, which tells you of the size of serpent we are talking about. And so he persuaded it. It got into the pot, and they were able to carry it to the king's palace. We don't know what happened to it. Some people say it was killed. Other people think it was relocated. I prefer the relocation part of the story. And there was jubilation. The place that was a place of pain, a place of suffering, finally became a place where people could sit, people could kurandama, people would have peace. And so the story therefore becomes very important for how we began the work we do. We know that the serpent is simply a representation of the challenges all of us have in life. We all have serpents of all types, and the serpent that we found of that time that we thought we needed to wrestle with and put in the togero was a serpent of deforestation at that time. We know that 60% of the forest cover in Uganda has been lost over the last 30 years and is getting worse. And experts say that if we continue at this rate, by 2050 we shall not have a single tree standing. Now that is a scary statistic. So we said it's a big problem, but let us try and do what we can. So we developed a nursery. We started training young people on how to raise nurseries. And by the time we are done, we had about 1.5 seedlings that we had distributed. But our vision was a little longer. The vision was such that we would create furniture, some of which you see in the background. We would create cottages, some of which you've seen in the background. We would create jobs and employment for lots of people. And so what you're going to see, the place I want to invite you to, with that type of a background, is a place which is now wrestling with that serpent, the serpent of wellness. We all know that COVID introduced a massive challenge. There was no oxygen, there was no medication, there was no vaccination. So the only thing we are left with is how to make sure that our bodies are resilient. So we started a program that enables us to build immunity, but using what resources we had. And so you are going to find that currently we are working on a wellness program that is making a difference in many people's lives, mine inclusive, because I was the first one to get involved in it. I had high blood pressure, I had persistent cholesterol for the last 15 years, but after a 21-day program, all of that became no more. My cholesterol settled, my high blood pressure went down, and so we figured that instead of simply having a forest reserve, a resort that, doesn't have focus, we are now solely focused on making sure that people are well. So the Japanese have something called Shinrin Yoku. Shinrin Yoku, which means forest bathing. It seems to be the core of our product offering. So when you come through here, we take you through 4 elements. We make sure that you exercise. We make sure that you breathe our fortified oxygen, which is in the forest. We make sure that you eat right, and we make sure that you rest well. So to remember it easily, it is called EONS, E-O-N-S. It is exercise, oxygen, nutrition, and silence, which includes meditation and good sleep. Now, perhaps I should actually get back a little bit. What do we have here? We have a lot of accommodation. We have up to 24 rooms where we can accommodate guests, a lot of them built out of the timber that we planted. We have an extensive trail in the forest that runs up to 10 kilometers. And in that we can do a lot of runs, a lot of jogging, and we have cycling paths. We also have people that want to find therapy in gardening. We have a garden that's about 20 acres where we have pigs, we have cows, we have coffee planting, we rather picking coffee, we have matoke, we have a whole range of products that when people who are stressed in the city sort of have a time to spend in, we do hope it does make a difference. But on top of that, we also work with children. During COVID, we all know, those of you that have parents, that we had a huge amount of challenge with children. So what did we do? we gathered about 45 children and we took them through this wellness program. So if you have children that are hyper, we have a way of making them less hyper. If you have children that are not focused and unable to clean up after themselves, we actually have a wonderful program that enables children to be much better citizens. For young people, we run financial boot camps that enable children to know how to plan, how to budget their money, and how to work for it actually before you save it. They learn discipline, they learn responsibility. Now, in terms of parents, we do again run financial boot camps. But unlike the typical financial boot camps, we are teaching parents, especially investment clubs that have been here coming again and again, how to go beyond the ordinary in financial management. A lot of people have created investment clubs, they do buy land, they try to buy treasury bills, but we are creating something new, enabling them to get into that space that is so common in the first world, the space of creating private equity funds. And these private equity funds allow you to bring money together, hand it over to experts that can actually make it work for you, where you don't have expertise. So we invite parents, because if parents learn how to manage money and how to make money work, it is much easier for them to pass it on to their children than schools can ever dream to do. Yeah, so that's part of what we do. Then the third thing is we've found people that do gardening. And instead of them and gardening at two levels, people that have invested in forests, and people that say huge investment, we have so far invested in about 650 acres of forest. We've made a lot of mistakes, we have a lot of successes, and when they come through, we show them in one of our forests, which is sort of a museum of mistakes, where we had bad seedlings, what you do if you want to make a big mistake. So we have a whole chronology of the mistakes we made until we did things successfully. So in a nutshell, kids have plenty to learn, parents have plenty to learn, schools have plenty to learn, anybody has a lot of stuff they can learn from us. The Eco Village is another fascinating product we came up with. We all know that a healthy environment will breed a very healthy mind in many ways. So we realized that we could create special communities, intentional communities, and this is what the Eco Village is about. And it is run around 5 principles, and they all, for ease of remembrance, they start with a C. The first one is community. We know there's a breakdown in community. People have neighborhoods, but they're all walled in, behind walls. So children don't know each other. Your neighbor can die, and you have no idea. So we've created a community where you can't build a perimeter wall around yourself, where you need to know your neighbor. So that is C number 1. The second thing about our community is conservation. God has a reason He allowed us to have all of the variety of trees, and they all play an important role in attracting birds, and it's the birds in the bugs that bother us. So we created one where you have to be committed to conservation. The third C is capital gains. We find land in the community with very little value, we fence it all up, push its value up, so whoever made the investment, the value of their land becomes much bigger. Then the fourth C is cash flow. In the Eco Village, you'll see houses, and there's a cottage, a beautiful cottage made out of timber that we planted. It is rented for 500,000 shillings every night, and it's usually occupied every weekend. And it's important for the members to know that you can build a community house, a rural house, that actually makes you good money, much better money than you make if we had built it in the city. And then finally, the final C is cooperative economics. A lot of times we build houses and we suffer alone, but we have 35 people that together decided to buy one gate. We created a fence that we all share. We have a borehole that costs us 35 million shillings, but you can imagine when you divide it across 35 people, you wind up contributing 1 million shillings. Then we have a community inn. All of us members own a little hotel in there that keeps giving us cash flow. So you must have visited it, you see it. It is still under construction. So we find it a fascinating concept because when you come in, we have rules that govern us. We have property owners associations, such as a cooperative, a multi-purpose cooperative. that this criteria for being a member is you must be able to defend the Constitution. And you must be able to respect those five principles I've told you about, which is community, which is conservation, cash flow, because we rent them out, cooperative economics, and capital gains, making sure the property you've invested in makes a whole lot of money. Yeah.
So how does somebody get to book a space here? Are there some telephone contacts?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. There are many ways of reaching us. We have numbers which I can't roll off the top of my head, thanks to my age perhaps. But we have a wonderful website where you can do all of the booking. It's a dynamic website. You can go and plug in. You can book specific rooms. It can tell you the rates, and ultimately it can give you the quote of how much you're going to pay. And the payment can be made via Visa, can be made via mobile money, can be a direct bank transfer. We make it very, very easy for you. And in case you don't want technology, we can actually pick up the money from you. Or we have a liaison office on Renzori Courts at a sister company called Rapid Advisory Services, where again, we can serve you. So the choices are many.
Okay, we would like to welcome all those who are joining us this morning. It's been a slow start, and we went to Kalungu to listen in to an entrepreneur who has changed around the forest into habitable place. Is there something you listened in that caught your eye? Anyone? Did you listen in to something that caught your eye? Okay, Shan says good morning. Good morning, Shan. Anything that caught your... Can somebody remind us about the 5 C's? If you can type in the chat, one of the C's and another will add. Daniel, you want to remind us about the 5 C's? Please type in the chat. Type in the chat. The C's, they were C's, not P's. Mr. Masava, did the members here listen to the 5 C's? He even repeated the C's.
I don't see anyone typing in the chat.
Okay, so listening to the video and reflecting on it is something we shall be working on for a long time. Okay. Capital. Okay, Mwanguzi says capital. I think I was talking about capital gains. Capital gains. Did he say character? Maybe character was not among the 5 C's. But he talked about capital gains. What did he mean by capital gains? Did somebody follow that? Daniel is just writing some words here. Daniel didn't listen to these. Daniel, the video had a particular 5 C's. Did anyone listen to any of the C's? Capital gains is one of those, and he said your property should be able to make you money. It should bring in gains, so you have to do investment. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Masaba, is there anyone who is willing to take us to the farm this morning? They should put that conservation. NSA talks about conservation. Yes, conservation was mentioned as one of the C's. Okay, now that we are many, we are going to visit some youth who are into entrepreneurship, agribusiness entrepreneurship, who are working with their auntie. And what I would like you to pick from these youth is how much they seem to know, but also the enthusiasm with which they work. I hope you will be able to write down a few things as they speak, because I will come back and ask you again to reflect on that small video there. I must warn you that it is not as well done as the last one you watched. So you don't expect to see aerial views, but at least you'll be able to listen in to what the youth say. So enjoy listening in and learning while you write a few things down.
You can help me take it.
So right now we are at Chakwa Farm, and our motto is a farmer's food is the best manure. As you're looking at this is very good and ready. So as my brother said, we do different projects here, like briquette making, silage making, training different groups. So as he has said, we have hydroponics, which he has already talked about, and he's going to explain more with the silage, and I explained the maize hydroponic powder and the briquette making. Thanks.
My name is Kando Derek, a student at Baptist High School, Chitevi, here in Nyanama, and I'm in Form 3. Mainly here at Chakwa Farm, we do a lot of activities. As he said before, we do the silage, but again we do go out and teach our fellow youth, and not only the youth, other fellow farmers out there, and they pick our knowledge, our technology that we use here. So it is very interesting at Chakwa Farm, and we really believe that if you're here, you feel like at home. So we welcome you to Chakwa Farm.
So this is the maize hydroponic powder right now, and we go only maize in this sector. So I believe hydroponic means water working. So without water, basically, then the plant will not able to grow if you're not using soil. So when we are in the garden,
So here mainly we water our maize with only water. Mainly we use rainwater. Why do always I have to say that we usually or basically use rainwater is that we believe rainwater doesn't have that dangerous chemicals that can be of harm to the animal and to the maize itself. So we believe that the tap water is at times added in with dangerous chemicals that can be of harm to the animals. That's why we mainly prescribe rainwater as the best water in this process. So here, when our maize is ready in the garden, we harvest it, we dry it, and after drying it, of course we have to sort it. And sorting it, mainly we do that activity in the evening. So why do we sort it? We believe that not every maize seed will grow. So we try to look out for those ones that will not be able to grow, or that will just rot on the tray when we are planting our maize. So when those are found out and are removed, then we do the other process. And I believe my brother here will be taking you through the processes up to when it is given to the animal.
so if you're doing this, you have to make sure that the maize that you're growing isn't treated, because that maize isn't good for the animals, because their digestive system will be highly affected. So the first step is that after getting the maize from the garden, you have to wash it in clean water, and within that water you have to add 2 tablespoons of salt, and you sink it for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, you have to rewash the maize seeds in clean water again and you soak them for 20 hours. Just know that the more hours you give, the more the seeds grow. So after soaking them, we have these trays that have holes. The importance of these holes is that to allow water to pass through them, because as you're watering, the water doesn't have to stay on these trays. Majorly the roots and the plant itself will not be able to grow because they will rot. So after that, then you have to place the seeds on the trays as you're seeing here, making sure that there is no space so that the roots can be like attached and making the fodder farm. So
our maize here takes about 8 days to mature. So why do we mainly, someone may ask a question is that, why do you feed it at 8 days? So we believe that beyond the 8 days, it no longer serves the purpose we want it to serve. So mainly before the 8 days expire, we believe this maize still has the nutrients that are needed by our animals. So at 8 days is when we feed the maize. But it's not that after removing the maize from the storage facility, that is the greenhouse here, it's not that we just give it directly to the animal. So after removing our maize from this facility at 8 days, we first put this maize in an open place for about an hour. So the purpose for that is that when it is put in an open place for an hour, we believe that some water is going to evaporate, and in the due process, this maize is losing on the water content it holds, because we believe when it's here, it holds a lot of water which might be of harm to the animal. So when it loses some of the water, we believe it is very safe for the animal to consume, and it will be very good for their nutrition.
Plus,
so
if you leave the water in the maize, then it produces a bad smell, which will like prevent the animal from feeding on the fodder.
So we believe that our animal can be supplemented with 3 trays per day. So this is not the permanent feed for the animal, but this just serves as a supplement to its daily diet. So we believe here at Shakwa Farm we are in an urban place, and we cannot be able to get green grass all the time. So we make sure that we can have something to supplement our animals with, and that is why we started up the maize folder, the hydroponic green maize fodder, and here mainly we grow the maize. Many people out there grow sorghum and other types of fodder, but here we mainly focus on the maize. because we believe it's what we can afford because it's among the cheapest. So we shall be taking you up to our kraal, and we shall be first of all putting our maize in. My name is Kayondo Derek, and apparently I'm at Chakwa Farm in the zero grazing unit. So here we have, apparently we have 2 milking cows, but we have around 7 cows at the farm. So every cow apparently can provide us with 13 liters every day, but in this period the cows are yet to dry off. But when they have just started, or when they have just given birth, each cow can provide up to around 25 liters of milk per day. So in the morning, we milk very early in the morning, and then at 4 in the evening. So the milk that is got from these cows is sold to the natives of the village. They come every day at our dairy and buy milk. So a liter costs 1,000 shillings here at Chakwa Farm. But what we best know of ourselves is that our milk is always real milk without any water, because we believe that if you give a customer the best milk, he or she will always come back to you for the best milk, because they will trust only your milk. So that's why we try so much to keep the quality of our milk standard. So here, as you see, we have where cows rest, like after eating and when they have nothing to do. So they have where they rest, and at night where they sleep. So someone might ask themselves where we put the cow dung that is collected here, because we have around 0.1 acres here. So we have a collecting pit, or the cow dung pit, behind this kraal. We have there a cow dung collecting pit. So when it gets full, that cow dung is sold to people with farms, to people with plantations, or else we have our only plantations. If at all we need some manure to supplement in our gardens, we can use that for that activity. But again, we also get the fresh cow dung from the kraal, and then we make what we call charcoal briquettes. And at the end of it all, these charcoal briquettes help us to cook here at the farm, and again for commercial purposes. Because we believe now, if we go on degrading the environment, cutting trees all day, we are going to be left with nothing but only left in tears because of the global warming. So that's why we decided that we collect the cow dung that is got from this place, and then we can use it for a commercial purpose, and we make charcoal briquettes that at the end of it sold to the natives, and we get some money. So what we basically feed is that we feed on dry grass hay that is supplemented with molasses, and we feed silage. We make silage here. Basically, we make our own feeds. As I told you, the importance of making your own feeds. So basically, we make our own feeds. We want to reduce on the cost and the safety of the feeds, and again the nutrition part of it, because you might go out there and buy feeds that are not nutritious. But when you make your own feeds, you will make sure that they are nutritious and they are well off to be fed by your animals. So that's why we basically make most of our feeds here. So we make silage that is at the end of it all fed to the animals. We make silage from maize stovers. Then we get the market garbage that is left in the market, the pineapples, the cabbages, all that is no longer wanted in the markets. We collect it and bring it at the farm, and we feed on our animals, of which we are reducing on the cost. But at times we can afford to get some green material. Since we are in urban area, we are not always going to be relying on green. So that's why we have to find ways of getting our own feeds, and they are very nutritious. But at times we can get some Mexican sunflower. If most of you know it, it is a plant that has a yellow flower. It is called the Mexican sunflower. It is very nutritious as well as very sour. But our animals like it very much, so when we get it, we chop it and we mix it with dry grass hay, and then we feed it to our animals. At the end of it, all animals are benefiting, of which they are getting the nutrition, and it helps to clean their bodies or their digestive system. So that's how we feed our animals here. And as you can see, they are very healthy. But someone cannot imagine that they are in such a small place and they are raised in an urban area. And if at all you don't know that we have cows here, you might live on this village for around 3 years without noticing. Because they are very peaceful, they are very quiet, they don't make that noise. And again, someone might ask, what would we use to clean the kraal? Because it is very clean, as you can see. So after removing the cow dung, we have what we call the disinfectant. We mix the disinfectant in water, then we go on to disinfect the kraal and sweep around. So the importance of the disinfectant is that it kills germs in the kraal, and again it reduces on the bad smell that maybe can help. It reduces on the bad smell, and it reduces on the bad smell that can maybe disturb the neighbors and the people who live on the village. But here we try so much not to disturb the community and to raise our animals in a peaceful manner. So when we are making charcoal briquettes, first of all we need sawdust that is got from, we need charcoal dust that is got from charcoal. Then again we shall need what we call fresh cow dung. And if we get the fresh cow dung, we believe if it is gotten from the kraal, it still has the grass that is eaten by the animal, some feeds in it. Then we shall first of all sort out the cow dung, and we remove those things like grass that maybe can produce smoke. Then if we remove them, then that cow dung will be safe for the briquettes. Then again, if we have our charcoal dust, we believe it has the bigger particles and the smaller particles. So we have this. We use this to remove the bigger particles. So the particles that can pass through these small holes, those are the particles that we shall be using for charcoal briquettes. So the particles that will remain on top of this, those ones will be left out, and they will be used to light the stove, or to light the stove where the charcoal briquettes will be put after they dry. So after getting our ingredients that we are going to mix, then we shall have to measure them, because we have to put these things in ratios. So we believe here we basically don't make that much. So we mainly make for a small amount, like those ones that can be sold not in bigger numbers, and the ones that we can use at the farm. So for us here, basically we use basins to measure. So in one basin of cow dung, we add 3 basins of charcoal dust. So that is the ratio. Whatever you are using, it should be 1 to 3. Whatever you're using, it should be 1 to 3. Even if it is a wheelbarrow, 1 wheelbarrow of cow dung, you can use 3 wheelbarrows of charcoal dust to mix that wheelbarrow of 1 cup of cow dung. So after mixing, again we have to add some water. So the water and the cow dung basically act as a combining thing that can combine this such that it is together. So you add some little water and you mix. So after mixing, we have our mold here, where that makes this shape. So there are people that cannot afford the mold. Again, we have this shape. This one is made by the hands. Just you get a mixture and you squeeze in your hands until when you get the shape. So basically this can take around 3 to 4 days to dry and be ready for cooking. But we don't put them in direct sunlight. So we put them in a place where they can get the moderate heat that can help them dry on a slow pace. Because I believe when you put them in the direct sunlight, you will find when they are damaged by the sun, they will break into pieces, and that will be effect caused on them by the sun. So if you put them in a place that has moderated heat, I believe you'll be getting the best output. So these ones can help a lot while cooking, because they save money, because it is very expensive to buy a bag of charcoal, but again it is less expensive to buy a bag of charcoal dust, because here basically we sell 10 charcoal dusts are sold at 1,000, but again they don't work alone, because they don't work alone. Putting this in a stove, it first of all requires you to make up that stove with some other small charcoal dust that will help fire reach these ones, because we believe these ones cannot make fire on their own. So these ones, to catch fire, first of all you have to first use charcoal dust again to make up the stove. Then you put these ones, like 3 or 4 can fit on a stove, and you cook very well, and they don't produce any smoke. Why? Because many people will come and say that if you burn cow dung it produces smoke. Then how does it come that these ones don't produce smoke? The reason as why they don't produce smoke is because the amount of cow dung that is put inside here is very small to produce smoke. That's why we say in a ratio of 1 to 3, because we believe if cow dung is more than the charcoal dust, probably you will see smoke while cooking and the bad smell of cow dung. But again, if you put less cow dung in charcoal dust, I believe there will be no bad smell and there will be no smoke. So at the end of it all, you will be saving your money that you would have used to buy charcoal at the end of that day. Anything else?
Okay. Mr. Masaba, have you seen the flowers we were talking about yesterday?
I just saw them in the compound there.
Yes, and they make very good flowers in that. Okay, what did we learn from the young boys? What inspired you? What did you pick? What did they talk about? Just put up your hand and let us know. Anna.
Teacher, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Anna.
Okay, then. For me, okay, from the beginning of that video, I learned that many farmers mostly use silage to feed their cows, and I think it really promotes the milk production, because all the videos I've watched, I've seen that many farmers use this. And I've also learned from those boys that, okay, from those gentlemen, that whatever you get out of something, it can still be recycled and used, because when they get the cow dung, they can use it for charcoal briquettes, they can use it to put manure in the garden, they can sell it. So they are not letting the environment be degraded by maybe throwing away that cow dung, and not cutting down trees to make charcoal, They're instead recycling what they're getting from an animal that provides them with milk. So what they get when they get the milk, even the cow dung is still useful. So they are learning to reuse and recycle everything, not to start like wasting and doing like other people. So for them, they are unique. They are unique because they recycle and they reuse compared to other people. And they have so many ideas on how to recycle and reuse different things. Have you got me, sir?
Okay, thank you, Hannah. We shall call them boys because we are told that they are in senior 3. One is in senior 3, the other is in senior 4, senior 2. Okay. Stuart?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesus Stewart. What I've learned from these boys is that they're using a small piece of land to do many things, to put some cattle, to plant something, and what I'm learning is that you can also use that a small piece of land to do many farm projects and develop yourself. That's all I've learned.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. You can use a small piece of land to do so many things. Anyone else? What have you learned? What have you listened to? What are you taking away? What do you want to do following what they have said? Any reflection? Just open your microphone and speak to us. What is it that you picked from these boys of your age almost, because they are senior 2, senior 3? Gabby says, I've learned that besides being used as fertilizers, cow dung can also be used to make briquettes, of which the briquettes save the environment by saving charcoal and reduce air pollution. Okay, maybe we talk a little bit more about briquettes. What are the ingredients, the products, the raw materials they are using to make briquettes? And can somebody open their mic to remind us what they said and the ratios of mixing? You know, in mathematics, we teach ratios. And this, I don't think in the many years I taught, I don't think I used this example. Okay. So I'm picking an example from my mathematics class. What are the raw materials and what are the ratios? Can somebody remind us? You can either type in the chat or you can open your microphone and speak to us. Mirembe Stefania says cow dung and charcoal dust. 1, 2, 3. And I think that is what Mirembe picked, that 1 unit of cow dung and 3 units of charcoal dust. Is that what it was, Mirembe?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, 1 unit of cow dung. Either it is a basin, it can be a wheelbarrow, it can be a bucket. And so who on this call thinks that they can find cow dung and charcoal dust somewhere? Who on this call thinks that they can find cow dung and charcoal dust somewhere? By show of hands. Who on this call thinks that they can find 1 spade of cow dung and 3 spades of charcoal dust? And hands can find. Anyone else? Anyone else? who thinks that they can go to a neighbor and collect a spade of cow dung, but they can also go to a charcoal store and collect 3 spades of charcoal dust. Anyone else? Huntington, Manuela says, yes, I can. Who else? Now, Infinix Note, because you didn't use your name now, I can't even refer to you by name, but Infinix Note 8 says I can. Who else can? Okay, maybe you have not walked around your neighborhood now, and or you are in a neighborhood where these things do not come by. But I want us to take a challenge. I want us to take a challenge for the weekend. And it's one of those challenges we are going to bring in your project work for your exams and see who will be able to hit this challenge. Now, we are going to make briquettes. We are going to try out making briquettes, and we are going to use cow dung and charcoal dust, and we are going to use them in the ratio of 1 to 3. But now we need the process. They walked us through a process. Who can remind us about the process? If you remember what they said, what do you do after collecting cow dung and charcoal dust? What are some of the steps? What are some of the steps? Who remembers what the young boys talked about? I hope you are not going to ask me to replay the video, because here we test listening and reflection. Anyone who remembers the steps? Okay, Mirembe, you will say a few and Hannah will add. Mirembe, go first. What is the first step?
You first get a wheelbarrow of cow dung, 1 wheelbarrow of
Get 1 wheelbarrow of cow dung. Okay, go on.
Then 3 wheelbarrows of charcoal dust. Then
Okay.
you sieve the charcoal dust and get only the tiny particles.
Okay.
After that, you mix the cow dung and the charcoal dust together.
Mirembe, there is something you're missing. There is a step you're missing. Let's see if Hannah has seen the step. Now, I don't know if my friends, I have anybody of A-level here. Anybody of A-level mathematics here? We are writing a flow chart, so we must follow the steps. Mirembe, you have remembered what you have missed?
Yes, you also first remove. In the cow dung, there can be some grass since it's fresh. So you also first remove the grass from the cow dung. And after that, you mix the cow dung and the charcoal dust together and add it a little water. And after that, you make balls out of the mixture. Then you put it like under dry shade to dry for like 3 to 4 days. Then you, like when you're going to cook, you put some charcoal dust.
Is it me who is losing Mirembe, or we are all losing Mirembe?
In the stove, charcoal briquettes. Then you light.
Okay, now, Hannah, you are going to repeat the process for us because we must understand this process. Let's see, Hannah, repeat the process.
Okay, teacher, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so first things first is to make sure that your ingredients are in a ratio of 1 to 3. You don't have to exactly have your wheelbarrow.
Ingredients?
I could get her now.
They have to be, your ingredients have to be in a ratio of 1 to 3. So you can maybe have like a basin of cow dung, and then you have to get 3 basins of charcoal dust. I think why they do a ratio of 1:3 is because maybe the cow dung may be a bit watery, so something like that of that sort. After getting those ingredients, you have to sieve the charcoal dust and remain with the fine particles. And then the fresh cow dung, obviously, it may have those things like the grass, the silage, the things which the cow is from eating are in the cow dung. So you have to try to remove them so that when you're making your briquettes, it does not become so lumpy. After that, you then mix your ingredients together. You mix them properly, then you can use a mold. But you can use a mold to make the shapes, but if you cannot, you can get it, squeeze it in your hands and roll it into a ball or the shape you prefer. And then after doing that, don't place it get your briquettes, but don't place them in direct sunlight because they may crack. Instead, place them somewhere where they can get moderate heat, somewhere near a shade, and they get moderate heat. In about 3 to 4 days, they will be ready, and you can now start lighting your charcoal stove with them. But teacher, I have a question. Isn't there another way to make briquettes without using cow dung?
There should be another way. This is one way. There should be another way. There should be another way. Okay, when you use paper briquettes, there are also paper briquettes. But now we have only listened to this one. Maybe we will also listen to another sometime. So I want to ask Mirembe and Hannah to neatly write down those steps and send them to Mr. Masaba. Mr. Masaba, we need you to get these write-ups from Mirembe and Hannah, and we put them together and get one simple write-up, and we are going to create a project out of this. We shall use this video as a link for the students at home to listen to first, and then read the instructions created by Mirembe and Hannah combined, and ask the students to try and create a project and make briquettes and take pictures of the whole process and videos and share on a blog. Now you can see how one video is taking us into other activities. I know there is also another activity that I have not yet put out. It was for planting napier grass, elephant grass, but because I imagine many people may be within homesteads where they don't even have a piece of land, I thought I should delay that. So this one could be an easier one. Mr. Masaba, they're asking for an email address on that. Okay, anyone who wants to ask about making charcoal briquettes, and as Hannah asked, we shall also find the other alternatives because you can also use other waste materials. Okay. Why did they say you don't put it under direct sunlight? Did somebody saying, I wish you could also access the write-up to start? Yes, the project write-up, if you are not part of, you are not a student at Help Schools, please pick that website, helpschools.net. Pick that website, you'll be able to find, and Mr. Masaba put the blog at URL so that somebody can follow the blogs. Okay, there are some hands here, Gabi. Gabby, your hand is up.
Why we don't put it? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Gabby.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes, I was saying why we don't put the request under direct sunshine is to prevent them from cracking.
Okay, to prevent them from cracking. Hannah, did you want to add?
No, teacher, that's also what I wanted to say, to prevent them from cracking.
To prevent them from cracking. So please put that footnote in your write-up, Mirembe and Hannah. Any advice? Any advice like sieve the charcoal, salt the cow dung, be careful about the measurements you do, mix with a little water to make solid. If you don't have a mold, use your hands to make. Now, let me also ask, why is this briquette round? Can't it be triangular? Can't it be rectangular? Why is it round? We know many shapes. Why are we seeing them talk up? And I think many briquettes I've seen are all round. Could there be any reason? Or we just take it like that? No one wants to attempt? Margaret says there is a way where we can use matoke peelings and charcoal dust, but what is the process? We will find that process. We might find somebody to come and tell us about that process. We'll find that video. It's always good to talk to the experts. Is there anyone who is trying to reflect on my question? I'm just wondering, why are these round things? Namchevi says, I think to enable heat easily distribute around it. Anna?
Teacher, I'm not so sure why exactly they are round, but I think they are round because of the material which is used to make them. Because when you hold it in a round way, it may keep the things together than when you try to put it in maybe a square or rectangle or triangle shape, it may break easily compared to when it is round. Because when it is round, the things are compacted together well, but when it is square, it can be light or thin inside, and the things don't keep together properly.
Okay. Okay, I think we are going to continue discovering. Somebody should write a blog on why we see round briquettes, but after you have made the briquettes. But you can also now go and experiment, try and see. And I shape out a different form and what happens. Okay, that would be very interesting for you to discover what happens. Anne says, just go to Google and search for, then go online, registration form, then fill in, then you see the message video. Now, Anne, I don't know what the question was. Anne, which question are you responding to here? If you can open your mic. I think you posted for someone else. Okay, but thank you, Anne. Okay, I had one more question. They said that they told us something that alludes to the best manure. What did they say is the best manure? When these boys were starting, they mentioned something and they said it is the best manure. And I think someone else has also been saying it. Did somebody capture that, that phrase? What is it that they refer to as the best manure for a farm? For any farm, they mentioned something as the best manure. Did you hear it? Of course, I'm testing the listening skills and the reflection skills here. Okay, anyone, even the teachers who are here, did you hear those young boys tell us? We will make sure one day we bring them live onto the call. I couldn't find them yesterday, but when we are running their second, they have another part 2 to share with us. We will bring them live and they will talk to us. They said something is the best manure for any farm. And for me, I like the fact that they are young and they seem to have the language of business, the language of work, they are knowledgeable. I'm only wondering, whoever teaches them, whether they satisfy them in class, because they seem to know a lot of biology, a lot of chemistry. Their mathematics is also good in ratios. When you tell them to compose stories or write poems, I think they can be very good. But I'm only wondering whether the teachers who are teaching them are actually satisfying them in class. And that is why we are here as teachers, to try to see how do we engage learners of that caliber to even support other learners, but also for them to benefit a lot from our classes. So it looks like somebody did not hear that a farmer's foot is the best manure. Somebody type it in the chat. A farmer's foot is the best manure for any farm. What does that mean? As we wind up that section, what does that mean? A farmer's foot is the best manure. What does it mean? Mr. Masaba, if you can look back at your videos, I wanted us to go back to our friends of poultry from what was that farm we talked about? Let me just
CRS?
No, not CRS. The bee warmer farm.
The bee warmer.
The bee warmer farm. If you can find.
I didn't download the bee warmer farm.
You did not, because my battery is running low. But let me find out. A farmer's foot, not food. A farmer's foot. Farmer's foot is the best manure. What does that mean? A farmer's foot is the best manure for any farm. What does that mean? Your scholars, your literature students, your what does that mean? When you say a farmer's foot is the best manure for any farm. You better write down that very in bold in your book, because it is something that you need to walk away with this morning. And literally it means that you need to be in your farm daily, anytime. So this morning, we have not been able to find anyone taking us to their farm, but what is important is you must have hands-on and eyes on. You will not be able to do any work if you have hands off and eyes off. If the farmer is not in the farm, then you may never get the best out of it. So we all want to work towards being in our farms. So if you have chance, if you don't have chance, of course, you ask someone else. But if you have chance, you have to do that. Okay, so friends, I want us to move away from this, and I will leave you with a video from Biwoma portrait. My battery tells me that after 39 minutes, when it ends, it will have ended. So let me ask somebody to pray for us. Pray for us as we close this, then I will leave the video playing. Anna, please pray.
Let's unbow ourselves and pray. Loving Father in heaven, we glorify your name, we give you praise. We thank you for taking us through this session from morning up to this moment. We pray that you may continue to guide us, protect us, and may you lead us throughout the day. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray and believe. Amen. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Gabby says, I think it means that without the farmer working his farm, he won't get the products he wants. It's literally about being at the farm all the time, not all the time, but making sure that you follow what is happening on the farm. Okay, enjoy the video. I hope power will come back before the video ends.
Bioma farmers. My name is Ruth Karen Birungi and I'm in P6. I study at Friends International Christian Academy and these are the layers.
Hello,
so the persons we are going to be visiting.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Magero. I welcome you to Bioma Farmers Limited. I'm in P5, I'm 10 years old and I'm in Friends International Christian Academy. Right now we're going to visit the layer section.
What is being done? Dear viewers, we are still at Biwoma Farmers Limited. Like we told you, we have a variety of sections, and where we are now is our brooder. This is our brooder. Like I told you, we use battery cage system. So this is our brooder now for the layers, and basically this section is for the layers. We have a section of the broilers. So this is for our layers. We get our birds. We don't have a hatchery, we buy them. When we buy them, when we bring them at the farm, we bring them when they are 1 day old, normally. So when we introduce them to our brooder, what do we do in the brooder? Or during the brooding period? You see, one might look at the structure and it's now open, but we've now opened because they have grown. When they are 1 day old, this structure is normally covered. We cover it with sacks. We open the sacks and then we cover it. Why do we cover it? To prevent a lot of air, a lot of coldness. Actually, we want to give warmth to the brooder because a brooder is supposed to be warm. So we cover it so that we get enough warmth for our birds. Just like the babies are covered, we believe these ones are our babies and this is their nursery. So we put them here, and when they are here, when they are just a day old, we give them glucose when we've just introduced them in the brooder. So we give them glucose for just 1 day, the first day, and then we tend to warm our brooder before their introduction in the building. Here, the litter you see, it's normally covered. This litter is opened when they are at least 1 week. So we cover it with a brooding paper when they are a day old. And then when they are a day old, we don't finish up the whole building. So we just use a portion of the brooder. And then we separate it so that they are in one space, which is warm enough for them. And then for easy monitoring, when we introduce them in the brooder, we divide them into two so that we can easily monitor each bird as they grow. After the day of glucose, we give them glucose like for an hour, just water, but we tend to put stones around the drinkers, around here, so that they don't fall in the water. So after one day, they already used like that is water for drinking, and then they don't fall in. So after an hour, we introduce them to the feed. We feed them on a starter feed. Normally we use pellets, and then when they are young, we normally use chick care. There are different kind of pellets on the market, but here we use chick care. It's also just imported, it's not from within. So after introducing them to the chick care, why do we give them chick care? Because it's very rich in proteins. And just as you care for the baby, we also tend to care for our birds. So we give them chick care for 4 days, which is in form of a pellet. And then after chick care, we give them a starter feed. So we feed them on a starter feed for 2 months. And then we keep them in our brooder for 3 months. After 3 months, these birds are going to be transferred to the cages. Here, what do we do when they're still in this stage? We do the vaccinations, or the major vaccinations from within. So we do the vaccinations from within, like how they are supposed to be done. Normally the vaccinations, the major ones, they normally stop at 2 months. And then we just remain with the vaccination of Newcastle or Newcastle IB. But the vaccinations like Mallets, we do it here, day old. Then we do Newcastle after a week, then we do Gomboro 2 weeks, then we repeat Gomboro, then we repeat Newcastle, we do typhoid, we do smallpox when they are still here. So the kind of birds that we have here, then we do the debeaking. That's if we buy the birds that are not yet debeaked. But sometimes we buy the birds that are already debeaked. For example, the birds that tend to come from out, they come when they are already debeaked. So there is no need of repeating that practice. But in case you're buying it's not yet debeaked, we debeak from the brooder. So that we take them to the cages, all the major practices, all the stressful practices are already done from within the brooder. So how do we brood? We have pots here. These pots are for generating heat for the birds. So some pots use charcoal and some pots use gas. The gas that we use at the farm is produced from within. So that's the advantage that we do have, that our enterprises are interconnected. So one leads you to the other. Like you saw, we use the chicken waste for feeds, and now we get the biogas from our chicken waste. So at least you don't look at the bird or the animal for just one product, but you can get different products. Like you get manure from these birds, you get eggs, you sell off layers. So you have very many avenues of getting income within one enterprise. So here, how do we control? We use gas. Here, there is one that is already lightening up it. So when gas is not enough, because what we produce might not be enough. That's why we are using some charcoal. So because we want to have enough heat within the brooder. Agriculture is good. One might think that we just want the parents to encourage their children. We also work with ours. These are young farmers, they are young doctors. You know, sometimes you can't do what you have never seen. And then when you grow up knowing these things, you don't know where the world is taking us, but we can't do without agriculture. So that's why I would encourage all the parents, all the young children, to please get involved in whatever that you have at the farm. Yeah, our young doctors, our young farmers, maybe they can tell you what they also know about the chicken.
Well, I change the feeds. Then I also add water for them. Then most times I clean the feeds just so they don't eat the husks. Most times, honestly, when it's done or when it's very little, we add some more. Mostly in the afternoon. Layer mash for the grown-ups, for the grown ones. In the afternoon, I come and refill the water. But if it's still there, then I just leave it. Well, mostly how their feathers change from yellow to this brownish color. It's weird and still interesting. Yes. It's a fun thing. It's fun and it's also nice to interact with these birds. Well, we keep them because they also provide eggs for us, and you can also sell those eggs and get money.
When sometimes I vaccinate them from diseases like Newcastle, Tomboro, typhoid, foulpox, pneumonia, coccidiosis, and others. Sometimes you can vaccinate them by putting a drop in their eye, and sometimes you can put them on the neck. They would die.
They would die?
Yes.
Wow. And when they die, do you make any losses or it's okay?
You make losses.
You make huge losses, eh? Okay. Now,
you know where these birds came from?
Yes.
They came from where?
You got it.
So here at Biwoma, we use biogas in our brooder. We get this biogas from the chicken waste. So we use it for brooding, and this reduces the costs with the charcoal. We no longer use charcoal. We use this, and it's very cost effective. The heat is also evenly distributed. So this helps us. From the chicken waste, we got to do biogas. And then we put it in here. It helps reduce on the costs of the charcoal. We modulate it from here. We reduce or increase it from here. Like now, the weather is good. That's why we have only put a few of them. They are very few, and it is even on the reduced. It's reduced, modulated well. But let's say if at all it started raining right now, we increase and put in more of them. We light up every burner to increase the heat in the room. We had lots. The biogas we have is a lot. Sometimes we open it and just let it go. So we're looking, apart from using it for cooking at home, we looked for other ways of using it. And when we talked to the people that are more educated and knowledgeable in that area of biogas, they told us we can actually use it for brooding. So we introduced it, and very soon we are going to be using it for the lights outside because we have a lot of it. this cage system, the advantages are you get to get your egg that is clean. You don't have to clean it. It's very clean, and the damages are minimal. We don't have lots of damages. Then another thing, you don't have to buy feeders. A cage comes with a feeder. It also comes with a nipple. Stop it, stop it, stop it. It comes with a nipple as well. This is where we drink our water from. And with the space, with the cages, in such a small space, we get to raise over 3,000 birds, which wouldn't be possible with the deep litter system. Another thing, another advantage with the cages, they have water 24/7. You don't have to keep coming in, tell the workers, please check the water. The water is already automated, so water is there 24/7. Another advantage with the cages, where you would need like this, with the number of these birds, you would need like 6 workers. But here, we only have 3 of them. So the workers, you reduce on the number of the workers, and that is a cost that is already cut. So this is where we go. So with this system, we put in the feeds once, and that is at 5 in the morning. We weigh our food. We calculate the number of birds that are on every line. After knowing, we multiply by the grams that each bird is supposed to eat per day. Then we weigh and know, like for this line, we are supposed to put 30 kilograms of feed. So we weigh it here, then we put on that line. We go on the second line. That's how we put in our feeds. And it's only once a day. Said once a day, that is at 5 every day. We come and collect them. As I told you earlier, the damages are minimal. In a day, we may get like 4 eggs damage, which is much better than the deep litter. With deep litter system, with the number of birds, you may get a full tray as damage, but here we end up getting like 4 or 5 eggs a day. Yeah, these are 3,360 birds. In a day we collect between 145 trays to 152 trays a day.
This is how I keep the eggs. The store. Sometimes we collect 100 trays, and then we have some damage, and then there are those oversized eggs like that one over there. It contains 2 yolks, but sometimes also the hens die due to the big eggs. Because where the eggs come from in the chicken, if the egg is too big and it can't manage to push it out, it may die because of that. So yeah, sometimes if the prices of the eggs go high, we consult from other people who also sell eggs and tell them how much are eggs selling on the market, and we inquire, and then we can also sell like that, so we can get a profit. But COVID times has been really hard for us, so that's why we have so many eggs, but we are trying to figure out how to get customers. Hello students and teachers and fellow farmers. I'm Bakuya Rachel, a student from Gaza High School, and I work at the farm. I help my mother rear the chickens and sometimes in the farm. But sometimes when I get time from my lessons, I go to the farm and work. And here behind me, I'm from Cooperative picking eggs from the poultry. Thank you for visiting us, and it's a pleasure. Come back soon. Physics, they can come and visit the biogas and see how it works. Yes. Okay. First of all, for the eggs, you have to know the trays you have picked each day, and when we have got customers, we have to count the trays we are going to sell that day, and then when the delivery person has come back, tells us how much we have made, and we count how much we have made in a week, or the number of trays we have sold, the birds we have sold, the pigs, yeah, even the passion fruits. We have to know how much we are getting. Are we getting a profit or a loss? I think geography, like S1's, that topic about fields, something connected with a field. So they can come and navigate through the farm. They go to the pines, the lusuku, the poultry, and everything. And then they estimate. They be like, how big was the farm? What did you learn from there? Which activity would you do if you were to work from there?
Benefits of bookkeeping. First and foremost, you'll know when you make a loss or not with your bookkeeping. It helps you to know, did I make a loss or not? And another thing, it will help you on the follow-up. For example, I'll take the line of the layers. We have different batches of layers, and we name them as in houses, that we have house number 1, number 2, up to 7. So when we get a batch, we call it batch number 1. When we bring it in, and we also bring in batch number 2, with the bookkeeping, we keep track of the feed you're putting in, the cost, the veterinary services, the different medicines you give to the birds. So we compare. When we are off laying, we look at the record and know that when we off laid batch 1, we got this much. And then we compare the batch 2 when you're also off laying. You compare and put notes together and know that in this batch, at around the 7th month when they were laying, we incurred such and such a problem. How did we solve it? This one didn't give us such a problem because we looked at the record we had in number 1, and we looked at the way maybe the mistakes we did on number 1, because we recorded it that we were challenged with this and this because of this and this, so we don't do the same mistake on the second batch. So that is the importance of keeping your records and knowing how you overcome a few things and how to prevent others. Then the problems of not keeping. If you don't keep the records, you'll not know whether you're growing or not. You'll not know whether you're actually moving forward or not. Because with record keeping, you'll also look at the salaries you're giving your workers. How much did I spend this year, and how much did I spend the previous year? That helps you. Where was I extravagant, such that you cut those costs and be in line. All that comes in after you've kept your records well. And then in case you want to get a loan from a bank, they will first ask about your bookkeeping. They come and check your records to see whether you'll be able to pay back that loan. So if you don't do bookkeeping, I think you are at a disadvantage. I encourage farmers to always try and keep their books right. Actually, it's my husband who kept encouraging me. Even opening this office, he was like, you should go to the office and work. I could sit by the dining, I put my computer there and work. Then he's like, no, you should have a proper office. When you have an office, it will help you point out things in an orderly manner. So he was like, you have to have files. You have to do this. I was reluctant. I could say I can do it here. But ever since I opened this office, I sat down and I'm like, what do I need? I need a voucher payment book. I need this, I need this. I pointed them out. Then the files, I had to point out what I really need to file, to put on file. For a start, actually, when you're starting, it is boring. You don't see the benefit when you're just starting it. It's not actually, it's boring a lot, but after you've seen the good that comes out of it, then you're encouraged every day to say, I have to keep this on record, I have to do this, I have to, you know. Even the different books that we record in, we have the cash book, cash receipt, we have a payment voucher receipt, we have a invoice book, we have a delivery book. So whenever we deliver, when we go and deliver, they do a delivery note for that person that we've delivered to. Then they also put, if at all they are paying on, we're giving them on credit, they're given an invoice. So when they come back here to me, I get those different invoice numbers and what, then I put in the system. Then after I print out and put in the file, I draw curves knowing that this month we made money, this month we didn't. How was the revenue? How is the income? Did we achieve our goals? We have targets. We do have a budget. Every year when it's going to start, we sit as a team and we do a budget. In future, we want you to go in a supermarket and find chicken labeled Biwoma. We want you to go and find pork, you know. We want you to go and find eggs branded in our trays, Biwoma. So we are working on that and saving for that. We're also going to put up an abattoir here, whereby we can slaughter from here. Then we also put a cold room in case there are those days when the market is really bad, and you can slaughter and put in the cold rooms. When the prices are good, then you sell off. And when we're also looking at being the provider of cold room in this area, because we have other farmers around, so many of them that get challenges with the price, so they can actually come and rent here.
Children, I'd like to thank you so much for choosing Biwoma, and I believe that we've been of an importance. I believe we've added on something to what everyone knew, and the farm is open. I'm still the manager, Biwoma Farmers Limited. Professionally, I'm a teacher, a bachelor's from Makerere University. You know, with all the professions we have nowadays, I believe we can't do away with agriculture. It's something that you can learn with experience, and it's a very good thing. And I think it cuts across all sectors, because no one can do away without food. No one can do away without we can't do away without food. So I believe it's a very good thing. And even when you are still there, I wouldn't say that I'm encouraging people to leave their professions, but what I'm saying is we can do the professions that we do have together with agriculture. It's something that you can start small Me personally, I taught for 1 year. So after that 1 year, I was forced to withdraw. Then I joined the Biwoma farm. And actually, I've never had any lessons in agriculture, apart from the seminars and maybe what I was taught in O-level. But I assure you, I've learned almost everything about agriculture.
We are very glad and humbled that you came and visited us. We thank you so much, and we want to let you know that the farm is open for visits. We have farm visits. You pay a little fee, then they take you around. They teach you how to do different things, different ventures. All the ventures we have at the farm, you can pay and come and visit. We are open from 8 a.m. to 11 farm visits. Beyond 11, we don't allow visitors here. So you can program your time, you come and just give us a visit, check us out, and we encourage you to come into farming. I think this COVID tragedy has really showed us that you can't do without farming.
I am really thrilled because I've been at this farm since 2014 and I've seen a real transformation. And I'm amazed at what Mr. and Mrs. Gavin have done to transform the farm and the whole place, and I believe the whole village. I don't think there is a farm like this. And I'm going to disturb him, he was away, to say a word, because I really started working with him as a friend. I always call him my boss, but he doesn't like that. Anyway, so today we are going to ask him to say something because he was away for work. But lucky enough, we've been happy to find him. And I know the two of them and the family are complete because it's a family farm, but which is slowly and progressively becoming commercial. And so we really have a lot to learn from it. One thing for me which I'm learning from him is that he was a civil servant and has very successfully transformed from a civil servant to a farmer. And so it's successful.
Okay, friends, that is it. My power has run low, and I couldn't continue playing that video, but it was also ending. Catherine, Shannon, and Rebecca, have a great day, and let's catch up next week. Bye-bye.